us in frame.
More or less.
Close enough. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to Tubi Trash, the show where we talk about terrible movies we find on Tubi. This is episode 4. 3?
Yeah,
no,
it's episode 3.
And we watched The Devil Comes to Kansas City.
You went to see him, didn't you? He sent you here to kill me? Don't get me wrong, I love irony.
A 2022 supernatural crime something or other thriller.
And by the way, it's Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're in Kansas anymore.
I mean, they never were.
And in case any of you guys...
I don't think they were ever in Kansas.
And in case you guys are wondering if this is indeed the first episode, if you guys have wondered who I am, you haven't seen our Unpolished Gems episode, I am Shane McCarthy, and this is my first time on the Tubi Trash series.
Oh yeah, hi Shane, how are you?
Finally have free time to do this. And hey, we got to have quite some fun here, especially from what I heard compared to the other films that I didn't take part of because I was busy.
So you liked your first episode of Tubi Trash?
I mean, this film was crap, but we had tons of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot more entertaining to watch, I can give it that, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, Darren, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Darren Logue. I have been the most consistent person on these Tubi Trash episodes besides John Carl, and you can follow me on my own YouTube channel at Darren Logue.
And I literally forgot who I was for a second. I'm John Carl Barth. I'm the founder of Neurokino Productions. And yeah, as I said, we watched The Devil Comes to Kansas City, which is a Tubi-original. The second one we've done, last episode, Blind Waters, was also a Tubi-original. And like Shane was saying, as opposed to the last couple, this is more the sort of movie I was hoping we would discover on this show. Like a fun, bad movie.
A unique failure.
As I said when we were watching the movie, the third time's the charm for this show.
Rebecca, are you excited to see The Forest Prince tonight?
I'm so excited.
I am acting.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
How do you even describe this? The plot of this movie is insane.
Well, I mean, the devil did come to Kansas City.
Yeah, technically the title is accurate.
But there seems to be a very big disconnect between the title's promise and the premise itself, the execution.
Yeah, so I'd say a good way of summing up this movie is that it tries so hard and fails so hard, and that's why it's entertaining. Like, because the last couple we watched felt really half-assed on every single level, and that's why they were kind of just boring for most of them. But this leaned all the way in on the absurdity and was completely sincere about it. And they seem to have no concept that their ambition definitely exceeded their budget. So, of course, everything looked cheap. But they were still trying the best they could with the limited material they got. And we got a pretty entertaining movie out of it, even if not a good one, really.
Yeah, and I mean, what was there before? I mean, like, an action movie that probably wasted its entire budget on John Malkovich and the Asylum's Jaws ripoff.
Yeah, the other two kind of tried to be high concept a little, but both of them, again, really half-assed it. Because, like, Rogue Hostage was supposed to be, it's a one-location thriller at a grocery store, which it bungled and made the most generic action movie ever. And Blind Waters was supposed to be like, it's a shark movie, but one of the characters is blind, except she isn't actually, and she only is for, like, part of the movie.
We're questioning why it's not just called Nearsighted Waters instead.
But this movie has an absolutely goofy as hell premise, and it plays it completely straight, and it is all the better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, were the actors in it trying to win Oscars from a Tubi-original?
Yeah, I was saying while we were watching, a lot of the performances in this, like, feel like community theater actors got the chance to be in a movie and decided to absolutely give it their all. Because, like, there are some very over-the-top moments in this.
Can anyone tell me not just what happened to Monday's shipment,
But what happened to the entire fucking Tijuana supply chain?
That guy's probably just insecure about being bald.
And even then, like, the opening scene and the general premise, like the one that's more prominent premise, or at least story of the film, is so disconnected until, like, near the third act.
So I guess getting into the plot, it's the 1930s, and we see this guy in a car drive up to meet this other guy who we find out is the devil, and he's making a deal with the devil to, like, have musical talent, pretty much. Like, he signs a contract in blood, and by signs a contract, it means he just pricks his finger and does a thumbprint.
And, like, as like, it's a generational curse.
Yeah.
And what breaks it is a supposed good deed, but it's too vague to really, like, make any sort of conclusions on to interpret what exactly he means.
Right, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, though.
But still, now we know what we want to do if we ever want to get good at Guitar Hero.
So we cut to the present day, and basically there's a guy who has a wife and daughter. We don't really get to know him very much. We learn that he hates his dad, but that never comes back. Like, he meets up with his dad, who's played by the guy from Parks and Rec, whose name I forgot. And we see them fight a little, and we establish that they have kind of a rocky relationship, and then it's, like, never brought up again. No idea why that was in the movie.
I honestly forgot that there was a dad in the movie until you brought it up just now.
Yeah, because he disappears after, like this big monologue he has regarding that crime fighting, that vigilante journey that he and his friends are going on, and that's it.
But
doesn't come back around to anything of that sort.
So basically, the inciting incident, which happens, like, shockingly early before really anything is set up about these characters. So what happens is there's this gang that's like a pedophilia ring that are all a bunch of, like, 30 or 40-year-old white guys, some of which look like they're trying to dress like gangsters, like they're all tatted up and everything, and, you know, are wearing their, you know, plain white t-shirts and their baggy jeans and everything. And then others are, like, just dressed in, like, button-up shirts and, like, suspenders. This is the whitest gang ever. Goddamn. That dude looks like if Jelly Roll and Jeremy Allen White had a baby.
And they're also, like, they seem to be both a notable threat, and not considering that they operate they operate their crime fronts out of businesses such as a t-shirt printing business and a dentist's office.
Which those buildings are just people's houses, you can tell.
Well, the warehouse. So the warehouse looked real. But
that's the exception.
So many of the, not all, but many of the locations in this movie were very clearly just somebody's house, like, dressed up to look like whatever it was supposed to be, which is, of course, a very common thing in low-budget movies. And there was even the cliche where one house is very clearly just the director's house, because there's a huge shelf of DVDs in the background at one point.
Yeah, it was in the house of the main character.
But, anyway, kind of getting ahead of ourselves again. So, I was joking that, because some of these gang members do almost look kind of legit, like, because again, a lot of them do have, like, tattoos and the whole works, and some of them are wearing, like, bandanas and stuff, but others look like, you know, middle-aged dads trying to play at being gangsters. Like, they are wearing some semblance of, like, hood clothing and a bandana or something, but, like, it looks very half-assed. And some of them aren't even that. Like, the leader guy is always dressed all nice, like he's bald and has a well-kept hipster beard, and, like, is always wearing a nice button-up shirt and everything. So, like, I don't know what they were going for. Honestly.
He also has a vest, which maybe consider, like, indeed, like, during our, like, riffing, I made an Irish gangster reference.
Yeah, he looks like a 1930s, like, Irish mobster, which might have been deliberate, I guess, because, again, the beginning of the movie takes place in the 30s, but, like, also, it's not consistent. Like, not everybody dresses like that. Some of them just dress like modern gangsters. But, anyway, these guys run, like, a pedophilia ring, and they kidnap main guy's wife and daughter, and the main character and some of his friends decide to go on a Taken-style rampage to get her back. Completely at random. Like, it isn't like in a lot of revenge movies where, the guy, they messed with the wrong guy because he's actually a badass trained, special ops agent or, an assassin or something like that. He's just some dude who, I can understand being upset at your wife and daughter getting kidnapped, but this guy, snaps. He goes from being the most ordinary guy on planet Earth to an absolute fucking sadist at, the drop of a hat. While we were watching the movie, I made the comparison to the movie Prisoners, where Hugh Jackman's daughter gets kidnapped similarly. And obviously, yeah, he's upset at first, and without spoiling anything, he eventually gets pretty deranged about it. But it's a lot more gradual. It feels like a character arc, not his daughter gets kidnapped and all of a sudden at the drop of a hat he snaps and becomes this violent psychopath.
It's basically like that much of a snap.
So, yeah, and instead, for some reason, they don't bother going to the police.
They point that out later in the movie.
Yeah, they point it out later in the movie and then don't answer it.
There's no indication. And see, a lot of these better vigilante films, they at least offer some instance that maybe potentially the cops have some sort of connections to, the supposed criminals at hand. They're not efficient enough. It's a case of, a can't wait or anything like that. But no, nothing about this doesn't feel particularly distressing or pressing compared to the better examples, including Taken.
Yeah, not to mention that the criminals never say, if you call the cops, we'll kill your daughter.
Yeah.
They also just come off very amateur and also stupid considering they show video of them kidnapping his wife and daughter, so...
And make no attempts to hide their identity or anything.
Yeah, they have ample evidence to get to the cops or even the FBI, but nothing of that is considered.
Literally the first thing we see after the wife and daughter get kidnapped is our main character and his two friends sitting around a table, holding guns, trying to look all badass, going, alright, let's go hunting. That's the first thing that they resort to.
And somehow, the friends are okay with this idea.
Everybody's just perfectly fine with this.
And on top of that, and of course it's so drastic, especially because you think we're missing anything potentially some sort of background details or character steps of them, having the main character especially having a veteran background or something like that, PTSD. No. It's that drastic. There's no instance of him being a gun fanatic or any sort of vigilante spirit or any kind of anti-system mentality. No, it's just that so much of a rug sweep that it honestly just completes a complete change of character without any sort of context.
Yeah. So, okay, here's probably the best example of how sadistic he gets. So he encounters one of the guys at one point, one of the gang members, who's just dressed like an ordinary middle-class white dude.
Well, was it the one that pulled the trigger on his wife?
I don't remember. But
I think he said it. He
okay,
said,
it might have
this is
been.
the guy that killed my wife.
Would have believed it.
But either way, he tracks him down, shoots both of his legs, and
his
then,
legs!
And then, steps on them so that he feels more pain, and then throws him in the back of his truck, drives him to some remote location, sits him down on a chair, tapes his arms to it, tapes his mouth shut, puts long rusty nails into his wrists, gets his jumper cable and attaches them, and fucking electrocutes him.
Yeah, and what were you saying in... Want to make the GTA 5 reference?
Basically just saying, move aside, GTA 5. And also, at least when it comes to that infamous torture scene, GTA 5, bless you, you have to... There's the tendency you have to keep track of the person you're torturing's heart rate so that you don't basically kill him and fail the mission. Have to deal with more of that when you have to replay it.
Yeah, there's
no, and also considering that this is just very amateur stuff. How do you know you're not? This is a lot of volts. What guarantees that you're not going to kill him, especially since you already shot his legs? He's not bleeding out, or not going to die from shock.
And spoiler alert, he dies before he can say anything. So basically, we were proven right.
Basic cliche much, and it's not doing any.
They should have let us torture him.
Okay. Anyways, and also this, and of course they're playing it straight. This isn't an example of an attempt of doing some sort of subversion of how absurd this revenge situation is. 'Cause it's only making things worse. No, they're still going through with it. And also, only then is one of his friends now calling into question his behavior and his actions. After that.
And There's also the fact that this whole time he's torturing him, trying to get him to talk, he still has the tape on his mouth, so he can't fucking talk.
Yeah.
Like, did that not occur to anybody?
Yeah, I mean, even if he is, like, going through, like, this extreme amount of volts and spastic, he can still at least conjure up some semblance of words.
Yeah, like, it's literally that simple. Just take the tape off his mouth so he can talk. Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, like I said, he dies. Shocker.
Bye.
Shocker. Pun. Anyway, whatever. And then, is that when he meets the friend that he hadn't seen in 10 years?
Yeah, I believe so. Like, he runs into... Because when he's currently starting the investigation, he runs into this random guy that he... Well, random to us, because we haven't been introduced to him.
Oh, damn it. Sorry. This light has been acting up today. Might just have to accept that the rest of this video is going to be not very well lit. Apologies, guys. Anyway, continue.
So in the midst of them beginning their journey of sorts, he runs into this man, I believe named calls him Randy, but he goes by Randall. He hasn't seen him in about a decade.
Wait, they have a history of knowing each other before the events of the film?
Yeah, because he said he hadn't seen him in 10 years.
I missed that part.
And eventually he just runs into him again, even though compared to that kidnapping location where his wife and daughter were abducted, and compared to that warehouse that he was torturing fatally the guy in, it's quite a distance, so how did he really get there if he doesn't seem to have a car?
Yeah, there is a reason later why we find out how he was able to track him down, but more on that later. Again, kind of insane, but we'll get to it. So, is that when... Because I know at one point he gets, shot in the arm, and then he wakes up at Randall's house.
Eventually,
That's
yes.
That's the next major plot point I remember. Is there anything in between there that's particularly important?
I mean, all I could think of is potentially indeed the criminals arguing and his daughter being taken to the sex slave hub where there is a seemingly adult woman also there, and actually the wife actually was murdered in the midst of the kidnapping, so the daughter is all alone, and plot conveniently, she has, I think, diabetes or something like that, or at least some kind of illness that requires some sort of shot. Most of us were swiffing so much that honestly we were drowning out the dialogue ourselves.
There's also
the whole needing a diabetes shot totally felt stolen from that plot point in Panic Room.
There's also the fact that the grown woman she's with is dressed in what is supposed to be tattered and torn up clothing, but it's very clearly done so deliberately, and it just so happens to look like a bikini, and there are ass shots that linger on her and everything. It's really weird and creepy, and honestly kind of out of place almost, because there really isn't too much like that in the rest of the movie outside of that one character.
And that's saying something considering how insane the plot is, and that's when you actually get to finally describing it.
I guess they're making sure that the audience is still paying attention.
Didn't work for me.
So... and it's also worth mentioning the dentist's office scene and the things surrounding that. Because,
You mean how it looked like it was filmed at someone's house?
Yeah, So, there's literally a crime boss in this movie who goes by the dentist. And the legitimate business that he's using as a front is a dentist's office. That's clearly just, as we said, somebody's house with a few things put up to make it look like it's a dentist office. Also, at one point, on a similar theme around this time, we see that one bald guy with the gray beard. Was he the dentist? Is that supposed to be who that was?
Yeah.
Also, it was white hair, not gray hair.
Whatever. We see him at his sex slave palace or whatever it's supposed to be, and it
looked like some sort of orgy.
We're supposed to believe that it's some kind of insane eyes wide shut orgy type of thing, but clearly it just some dude's house that they put minimal effort in trying to look like they put one topless girl in it, a couple scantily clad women in it. I hope all of them were of legal age. The actresses probably were, but I don't know. The characters, I'm not so sure.
In universe is the question.
And yeah, it's like, it literally just looks like your friend down the street's house or whatever.
It basically just feels no different from, like, the worst example of a swingers party.
Yeah. Honestly, though, it was the scene in Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Frank takes Dennis to, like, an orgy at that crappy apartment or whatever.
What is the password?
Orgy.
So next major plot point I remember is main character guy gets shot in the arm somehow.
What the hell are you doing? I'm fucking invincible!
And wakes up at Randall's house. And the only sort of, like, healing of any kind that he's gotten is, like, some duct tape wrapped around the wound. Like, no gauze or bandages or anything. Literally just, like, this really severe-looking wound. And literally all we get is some duct tape. And spoilers, throughout a lot of the next, like, several scenes, the whole time we were thinking, like, why hasn't this guy been taken to a hospital? Because, like, the only attempt at healing we see pretty much at all until a particular scene, which we'll get to. Until then, literally the duct tape is the only thing we see. And after that, the duct tape is gone, and he just has this gigantic, gaping, open wound that it looks like... And this isn't an instance of, like, you know, in an action movie where a person, like, inexplicably, you know, sustains a really bad injury. No. He looks like somebody who has sustained a really bad injury. Like, he's limping, he looks weak. They've even done, like, a makeup on his face to make it look like he's dying, like, losing blood. And the whole time, again, up until this one moment, the whole time, it looks like... the whole time, nobody questions why he hasn't been taken to a hospital or no attempt at healing has been made at all. Anyway.
Especially considering, like, there's never any real police presence throughout this entire film and throughout their journey. So...
Yeah, the cops just don't exist in this, except for the one time when they acknowledge, like, somebody asks, hey, why didn't you go to the cops? And that question never gets answered.
Like, are the cops in this universe sleeping until someone makes a call and wakes them up?
I don't know, man. Anyway. So, we find out how Randall was able to... Oh, wait. Have we been introduced to the guitar crossbow yet at this point?
Oh, the highlight of it all.
That's too cool for a production like this.
So, Randall's weapon of choice is a guitar crossbow. We couldn't figure out how it was supposed to work physically, like how he actually is able to fire it or anything. It's just like a guitar with a little shaft on the end that shoots arrows. It is goofy as hell, and there is a contrived plot reason for it later, but until that point, we were just like, okay, this movie made that insane choice and rolled with it. We can respect that. Cool. But anyway, speaking of insane things, so we should mention, up until this point in the movie, and mind you, we're a pretty decent way in at this point, nothing supernatural has happened outside of the opening scene. So, what happens next? Main character, whose name I can't remember to save my life, is sitting down with Randall, and Randall talks about how he was able to find him and bring him back to his house. So, the guy from the opening scene is like Randall's great-grandfather or something like that, who, like we saw, made a deal with the devil, and it turns out to have been a generational curse and he talks about how, like, his grandfather got, like, he calls it, like, pyro fire powers or something like that.
So he got pyro firepower.
And he says it, like, with a completely straight face. And he talks about how his father was, like, telekinetic and could, like, move, like, beers across it. He could, like, get a beer from across the table just by holding his hand out or something like that. And all this is played completely straight.
Well, you must have taken 100 takes for them to say it with a straight face. I can only imagine.
The hysterics were endless.
Yeah, so... And then, anyway, all this is leading up to... Randall's power is he can, like, locate people.
Yeah,
so,
think of that little girl character from Heroes.
So, for some reason, after not having seen him for 10 years, I guess he just decides to locate the our main character. And it just so happens to be when he's in danger. I don't know. But anyway, they use his powers to locate the daughter. And main character asks a perfectly legitimate question, i.e., if you could do that this whole time, why did you wait? Why are you only just now getting to it? And the movie does not answer this.
Same with also showing it to the police if they even were to exist in universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that some of you complain about when the Good Witch in the Wizard of Oz didn't tell Dorothy how to get home immediately, but at least she had an explanation.
So, what happens next?
So...
that's when he takes him to meet the devil.
Ah.
So, yeah. The devil gets reintroduced, and it turns out the way to get to hell is to go to this, like, dive bar location, which admittedly was actually, we were commenting, it's not somebody's house this time. It appeared to be some actual, like, grungy dive bar in that area, and props to them for actually finding that. And it was actually a pretty cool looking place.
They want to show how hardcore this place is.
Yeah.
With all the writing on the bathroom walls and mirrors.
Well, this is probably, to be fair, this is probably like an actual place they filmed at, because like they didn't have the budget to like actually build a set. Or anything.
Maybe they were saving the budget to paint the walls afterwards.
Big chunks.
Seriously?
But anyway, there's an underground like room that apparently is hell. Like it's a bar which is like part of hell.
Like a VIP section, basically.
Yeah, the VIP section of hell is what he calls it. And we see like Fidel Castro and like
John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy and John Wayne playing poker together. Which, like, I get that John Wayne wasn't great, but, like, morally equating him with John Wayne Gacy is just...
Not close.
And also the bartender is, like, just a red guy with horns.
Yeah, in fact, during that supposed, like, a crime orgy party that two characters seemingly, like, break into or break up, one of the topless woman has horns on her head.
Even though she's not supposed to be a demon, is she?
As far as we know. They don't, I mean, there's so much needless vagueness.
For all we know, she got those surgically implanted.
Or it's just a really stupid outfit.
Anyway,
or the guy has a fetish with it, or at least the crime war has a fetish with it, which...
Oh, and we should also talk about the devil himself, who, in this universe, is just like a sleazy-looking guy with a mustache and slicked-back hair, wearing like a red tracksuit. It's the goofiest looking thing, and it's so hard to take seriously.
I mean, he just comes off. I mean, 30s. He comes off as the perfect snake oil salesman, and just basically kind of maintains that same impression throughout to the present day.
Still, though, like he's dressed like a jogger. Like,
yeah, that too.
So he makes a deal with the devil. Like, the devil snaps his fingers and, like, a terrible-looking CGI contract starts floating in midair. And so, basically, he becomes more or less immortal. Like, he can get shot and he won't die unless he gets shot in the head, in which case he technically won't be dead, but he'll basically just see darkness for all eternity. That kind of doesn't really come back. But
Yeah, he never gets shot in the head or anything.
Yeah, well, he does die sort of later, but again, getting ahead of ourselves.
We'll get to that.
So this is when he and Randall go back to actually try and rescue the wife and daughter.
Well, just the daughter, because they know.
The wife is dead. And then, are we at the climax already? Is this where is this like the big infiltration scene?
Yeah, big infiltration scene.
Big infiltration scene that actually only
marks.
involves like 2 or 3 people, and a lot of it's really anticlimactic.
And indeed, that guitar crossbow has a payoff.
Yep. A contrived one, but a payoff nonetheless. But we'll get there. So basically, he comes in and like shoots a few people. And then he gets in a fight with this like bald, tatted guy we've seen a couple times before. Both of them, I think, do they both have guns? Or at least one of them? No.
So he takes he killed another like random extra. So the main character killed a random extra, and I think the gun was like kicked out of his hand. And said other person he's fighting, the only one that appears remotely ethnic. He decides to take the gun apart, or at least more so the magazine and the actual gun
For
itself.
no real reason.
And then pull out like a
knife.
Like a small machete.
Yeah, they have a knife fight, even though like he decides to throw the gun aside for no reason that I can fathom. Like he could have just shot him, but instead this movie needs to have a fight scene, like a hand-to-hand fight scene. So he just says like, all right, let's do this mano a mano, no guns. Which is a really dumb movie cliche, but whatever. So they fight, and it's not even that great of a fight. The choreography is okay at best.
Yeah, it looks like a Street Fighter knockoff game.
I mean, even then, most of it's just really just them like trying to like stop the blows and just try to like force it into a fatal entry point, and that's really about it. I think it's like lasts like less than like a minute.
And it was poorly shot, by the way.
There's no interesting like knife play or anything like that. Like there's no interesting fight choreography. It's just like person try to stab other person, person block person, struggle, they break free, rinse and repeat.
Literally like Charlie from Smiling Friends when he's like playing around with that fake knife he bought from Jumbo for $600. That had more interesting movements.
That episode.
Yeah.
So he wins the fight, and then he confronts like the big bad, the red bearded guy I talked about earlier. And it turns out that red bearded guy also made a deal with the devil, except unlike main character, he's just outright bulletproof.
And only bulletproof.
Which, here's where the payoff comes in. So Randall comes by and shoots him with his guitar arrow thing. So the only reason he used that thing is so that they could have a way of killing off this one character other than bullets. I love it.
And funny as it is, it does only bring into question over what exactly are the rules behind these specific blood deals. Like, is it not uniform at all? Is it indeed like a case-specific situation?
Yeah.
Well,
where he uses the arrow guitar on the bad guy would totally be more badass if this was actually a good movie,
or more tongue-in-cheek.
I think what they were I think what they were trying to get at was the devil is tricky and was actually on the side of red bearded guy the whole time, and therefore gave him a more, invulnerable power or whatever.
Well, he is the devil.
Except that doesn't really work because, again, he eventually ends up getting killed anyway.
Yeah, so like there's somehow like some sort of loophole in there that I guess he doesn't seem to remember or was never specified to him for some reason.
Yeah, that's another. I'm glad you mentioned that. So there's a part in the hell scene earlier where the devil says that he can't go up and do anything himself on Earth anymore, not since the 30s or whatever, because of quote a loophole, but we never find out what that is.
Yeah.
It's just the plot needs him to not be able to go up to Earth because that would make things too easy for our characters.
And also they don't have the effects budget for it.
So both red bearded guy and main character die. I think what happens is the daughter ends up dying off screen.
Well, it wasn't off screen.
Well, yeah, we do see it.
Also, that older lady that was with the daughter escapes
Yeah.
and steals one of the gang members' cars after killing him.
She was a little pointless, come to think of it.
Yeah, it was totally...
She doesn't really... I mean, the only thing is, like, indeed... Only thing, like, she seemingly serves is, like, to, like, bring you to attention that the girl is currently sick or, like, is going through, like, dying from insulin withdrawal. But here's the thing. They have goons that could check on them. Why wouldn't one of them just do that?
I mean, honestly, the only reason she was there was for TNA show.
That too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point to her unless they're setting up a sequel that's about her.
Like, seriously, the ass shots of her feel so out of place.
And gross.
Yeah, like, there's very little, aside from the orgy scene, but that's an orgy scene. Like, in this case, like, this is not a scene that, like, this is not a context in which that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it just feels weird and gross, like you said.
Just comes off as gross exploitation.
But anyway, they both end up dying. Both red bearded guy and main character. I cannot remember anyone's name in this movie except Randall.
Yeah, we're all gonna forget this movie after we go.
So they're both like in, I guess, limbo. I don't know. And somehow Randall is there too, even though he's still alive. And the devil also meets them there. And main character asks the devil, "Wait, why am I dead? I thought you said I couldn't die." And then devil goes, "The deal was if you save your daughter, you didn't, she died." But remember earlier when we said that Randall's generational curse only gets lifted if he does a good deed. And apparently killing this guy, this crime boss guy, was his good deed. So now curse is lifted. Cool, good for him. The way this movie gets wrapped up is actually kind of clever, I'll give it that.
A bit more on the, like, willing to be a bit less cowardly and almost bittersweet in a way.
Yeah, the ending is very much bittersweet. So, like, Randall gets his curse lifted, and the daughter dies, the main character dies, but the thing is, they're both dead, so there's a scene of them, like, meeting in the afterlife, and they're, you know, oh, we'll all be together forever, cool, yay. So, again, it's creative, I'll give them that. It's goofy as all hell, but so is the movie. I guess to sum up, it's not unlike what we said at the beginning. This is the type of movie I was hoping to encounter on this show, like the fun, bad kind of movie.
Again, third time's the charm.
Yeah, because it... Oh, sorry, Shane. Go ahead.
I know, you can finish first.
I was just gonna say, that, it's neither a lazy cash grab type of thing like Blind Waters or Rogue Hostage, nor is it a wink wink nudge nudge, oh yeah, we're totally taking this seriously, you guys. It's not, Sharknado or something like that. This is like what a good bad movie should be. This is, they actually tried their hardest and it ended up shitty, but at least it's earnest, and it earns my respect for that. And there are plenty of entertainingly insane moments, some very over-the-top acting, and all in all, just this was fun. I had a fun time with this.
Yeah. Even though one thing, I'll just never get over just how disconnected it is in terms of genre, because it starts off with that opening scene of Supernatural, then it takes about an hour to bring any sort of Supernatural stuff back into play, and then it becomes prominent. No sense of gradual, integration.
Yeah, this could have benefited a lot more if they had, 100 more drafts of this, and one of them would get it right.
Then again, also being somewhat tongue-in-cheek would have been kind of fun, especially to go even more crazy with that crossbow.
Well, and I was saying while we were watching it, I can respect taking, a, fantastical or, supernatural premise and making it grounded and believable. Because, The Exorcist or something comes to mind. But, this feels like it doesn't actually feel grounded. It feels like it really wants you to think this is a grounded, gritty, realistic movie. And it does that by being as edgy as humanly possible. And it's all the funnier for it.
And also just relying on so many cliches, especially the one that it just never fails to make me just kind of chuckle. The crime lord that kills his own employees.
Which, like, sometimes makes sense. Like, a lot of the time it's like, you gotta sell enough drugs and get me my money or else you get it. But this guy was just, like, casually for no reason. Just, like...
Probably just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
At least he was one of the more entertaining actors in the film, but I think Randall is obviously the standout.
Totally. Because we can remember his name.
And of course, he has that crossbow in his favor, which is so wonderfully outside the box.
Yeah.
Honestly, in a better film, would actually have been kind of charming. But here, I mean, don't get me wrong, we get a lot of ironic enjoyment out of it, but it actually works in disservice to itself.
Hey, if they want to
objectively.
make a sequel to this movie, can it just be all about Randall? I think it would be a lot more entertaining.
Anyway, so, yeah. Movie's bad, obviously, but it's the fun kind of bad. As far as scores are concerned, Shane, did you watch our Blind Waters review?
So you do like like number-based scoring?
Yes, but I introduced a new system in the Blind Waters review, which I completely stole from a YouTube channel called The Bad Movie Bible, who you should all check out.
Stole it? How could you?
You should all check out The Bad Movie Bible, by the way. He's a really underrated channel. And basically, we give 2 scores. One based on like how actually good or bad of a movie it is, and another based on good, bad entertainment value.
Okay.
So, I'd say my regular score, whatever you want to call it, my score on how actually, like the actual quality of the movie, I'd say maybe 5, maybe a 4. As far as entertainment value goes, though, 8. This was solidly entertaining, I think.
And I think for my first score, I will give it a 4. And I think for the entertainment value, I will give it a 7.
Okay.
So for me, I'm giving, like, first score will be a 3, and for entertainment, giving this an 8.
All right. Cool. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, keep on Tubi trashin'. I should really stop saying that. That'll probably never catch on, but I can't think of anything better. So keep on Tubi trashin'. Goodbye.
We'll see you next time when we dive into the Tubi trash can.
Keep on scrounging. The real question is how many drunk people came in, or how many fights were there?
Oh, you have...
How many times?
One time a couple meth heads came in.